And we are live with Mark Kilens, CEO at TagGTM.com. Mark just launched this beautiful company a month ago. Last time we spoke, it was still in the process. I'm really glad to have Mark on, excited to discuss about his podcast, his company, his GTM tactics, everything in between. Mark, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about TAG and what you're seeking to accomplish there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show, Charles. Yeah, TAC was just announced 2 days ago, August 1st. We've been building it for a couple months now. I co-founded it with Nick Bennett, which some of you might know. He's been a big name on LinkedIn for many years now. And the whole idea is, one, we believe that businesses need a new and different way to go to market. We can talk about what we mean by transitioning from a company first go-to-market approach to a people first go-to-market approach. So that's very foundational to the TAC brand and business model. TAC overall is a media and marketing firm, and we help businesses align and accelerate their go-to-market strategy. And we do that through these three brands that are all part of the overall TAC brand. So you got one that's the community and club called Club PF. That's where people can join. We have two membership types and learn more about people first go to market, the model, the principles behind it, meet a lot of like-minded people. We're like 125 members of that community. It launched just under 4 months ago. We have TAC Creative, which is the media network that we're spinning up that's going to help creators and brands bring original shows to life. So if you have an idea for an original show idea, we'll work with you, partner with you to bring that to life. You can check that out on the website. And then TAC GTM is the marketing firm where we work with customers, small, big companies, providing them with go-to-market retainer services.
Love it. Love the branding of the TAC website with the sailing. That's a passion to be developed into me. I want to talk about your background first, give folks some context here. You occupied various significant positions in the past couple of years. What caught my attention, definitely VP marketing and founder at Hubspot Academy for 8 years. So can you tell us about the lessons you've learned at Hubspot that you've brought with you today?
Yeah, I mean, Hubspot was, a life-changing experience, right? Life-changing experience for me, for a lot of people. And I was a HubSpot customer back before I joined the company in 2010. So I was very lucky enough to get this very early exposure to this amazing company that Brian and Dharmesh, the two co-founders, created. And at the time, it was very focused on inbound marketing, right? And how do you basically give value before trying to get value in exchange, and don't interrupt people when you do that, right? Do it in a very inbound versus outbound type of way. They find you versus you push things on them, pull versus push, right? All these different ways you can think about it. So when I joined HubSpot, I had this deep empathy because I was a customer. And I built this nights and weekends project with the help of a lot of people that eventually became what is HubSpot Academy today. And it's just all around educating people, giving a lot of valuable information, education, programs, content, whatever you want to call it, out there for free. And if you do that, that's going to be probably one of your fastest ways to build trust with people. And at some point, they'll have a need. They'll come back and say, HubSpot has given me a lot of things, and I'm finally in a position where I have a problem or a need where HubSpot, the products that they sell can help me. And that's the premise, right? And HubSpot Academy now is, I think it's like 500,000 certified people or something. It's millions of people that engage with it. And it's there just to help people grow their career and then therefore grow their businesses. And then that kind of experience has led me to understand this new approach, this company versus people first approach to GTM, because it's not just marketing anymore, Charles, that needs to be working on growing a business. You have to get your marketing, sales, customer success, product, and finance teams all working together underneath kind of one revenue engine, right? So that's easier said than done, but that's what we're trying to do, at least from like a people first standpoint, attack.
Right. I consumed the product that you built at HubSpot Academy, and that's probably the first time I saw your familiar face. Because yeah, first time I spoke to you, I was like, yeah, I saw that guy before. I want to talk about Drift, another of my favorite company. It's that little live chat that you guys have seen, and David canceled. What a guy! Read his ebooks and so forth. Tell us a bit more about that experience and Air Meet, which could lead us to TAC.
Yeah, so Drift, I was lucky enough to get to know David and Elias, who were both at HubSpot. Arguably, the most important acquisition HubSpot has ever made was when they acquired David and Elias's company named Performable in 2011, and they helped rebuild kind of the entire product and just create this huge wave of innovation and just this customer obsession mindset with how you build products. And actually, David and I used to live like right next to each other, very close in the same town. So then at the point where I was like, all right, I think it's time for me to get to this next challenge, next level of learning. I was like, it's only natural for me to reach out to those two guys and see if they, need any help, or if I could fit into the equation. And lucky enough for me, I was able to join Drift and be there for like 3.5 years almost, and just saw a whole new way to think about brand building. I would say HubSpot built an amazing brand over time, but initially it was more focused on let's build the brands without a ton of intentionality. It was more just like, let's build a brand through this point of view of inbound marketing, and then figure out how to like make the HubSpot brand stronger and stronger over time. Where David Cancel's approach was more like, let's focus on like building this amazing brand, and then work with people, partner with people, talk to a lot of people, find a spark for the community, which then will lend itself to understand like what product and what category we should build. So it's kind of just the inverse. It was interesting. They both ended up in the same spot, but it was just kind of done in an inverse way. So I learned a ton there, which then I've applied to TAC with Nick in terms of how to build a brand, and everything from like logo and mark design to how you want to launch something to just how you build in public, all these different things. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Very clean playbook, I must say. HubSpot and Drift share one single strand of DNA, which was always add value. Like I cannot tell you how much content I consume from both brands, whether we're talking about blogs or ebooks, and that's the way to go. If you've got your snippets rightfully installed, you can even remarket those folks and add even more value until their glasses spill, and where the result of their glass spilling is people giving you money. That's my theory of content, and constantly adding value to people. It's like, oh, I cannot take it anymore. Take some of my energy, right? Air Meet, I've heard about that company, CMO, so highest marketing role in the company. Briefly tell us about like what that company did and how you outgrew that company to finally start your own.
Yeah, I mean, Air Meet is a great company, founded out of India. It's a very big challenge for me in multiple dimensions about just where the company, it was founded out of, located. I knew the product like category very well because I use these technologies when it comes to webinar technology, event technology. One of the teams I oversaw at Drift was the events team and the webinar program. So like very familiar with the space. Of course, the timing was interesting, right? The pandemic made all these things much more important, and now it's of course evened out. It's still up from where it was pre-pandemic when it comes to webinars and virtual events, but they were looking for someone to come in and create a category at the thought leadership level, and then kind of rebrand their product. And that's what we did. We built a category that plays off of what is a very well-known category at this point, which is product-led growth. And that's a thought leadership category, right? So they're not product per se. Sure, there are products that help you do product-led growth, but like those products aren't positioning themselves as a product-led growth product, right? They're positioning themselves as like some type of like data analytics product, right? Think Mixpanel, right? As an example, right? So anyway, we did that with event-led growth, and then we built the Event Experience Cloud, which is kind of this all-in-one event management suite, including webinars, and did some pretty cool things with like pricing, unlimited events, making it super, again, people first, customer first, if you will, in terms of how we did our marketing. And unfortunately, the economy and other factors had put some pressure on a lot of businesses. And at the same time, I was starting to get the itch because I knew at some point I was going to build something to like, hey, I think we should build something. I think I should build something. And there's just too many signals from my point of view. It was kind of the right time. And, I wish Jeremy all the best of luck and whatnot. It was a personal decision around like learning and wanting to build something that led me to this now business with Nick, and we're super excited about it, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, exciting times, and there's no right timing in life. I mean, there's like opportunities. Yesterday, I talked with a founder. He had to leave his fintech startup after it was almost shut down by the Chilean FBI, believe it or not. And he was like in between, he was at a lake meditating. He was like, yeah, it's time for me to launch a new company, right? And he started this new fintech that's about to become a unicorn in Mexico, serving LATAM, YC back. Why are you making this jump? You've made like huge salaries. You were very successful in your career, and you're kind of going to war with your own company right now. I mean, you might have like backings, financial backings. You might have the knowledge and everything. Like, what exactly gave you that spark to go at war and start your own company?
Well, yeah, I look at it from undeniable truths, and the best companies build companies off of undeniable truths. That's what HubSpot did. That's what Drift did, and that's what Airme did to some degree. So an undeniable truth is this: number one, businesses are facing more pressure than ever before, and it's coming from things like an explosion of content, channel saturation, tremendous privacy and legislation pressure, interest rate pressure, convergence of AI pressure, right? AI, like this new technology, and then the pandemic pressure. So there's 6 undeniable truths that are at different stages of maturity that are creating massive headwinds and crosswinds for a business. So you got to see where the idea of TAC came from, right? TAC is all about like finding the right TAC. And in sailing, like in business, you never go from point A to point B in a straight line. You never go from 0 to 100,000 or 100,000 to a million straight line. Never is going to happen. So, we help businesses find the right TAC, find the right GTM course. And we think about that in this new way. I believe we're at this point now of the Uberization of B2B go-to-market teams. That's where we're at. And you can see it because there's a tremendous amount of layoffs happening, which is very unfortunate. But there's also a tremendous amount of companies looking for expertise, but not full-time. Why? Because there's more flexibility, less cost pressure, more agility. It suits the board. And if the business at some point wants to bring someone in-house full-time, maybe they do that, or maybe create a longer-term partnership with that company. But the fact is, businesses, and I think AI is going to drive a lot of this as well, not just interest rates, because those will normalize. This new environment of business is going to be more about how do you hire the right strategic people and or great people leaders and have them lead teams that are very diverse, not just from a location standpoint, but how they actually work with that business from a contractual standpoint. There's gonna be a lot less full-time contracts, I think, in the long term, and there's gonna be a lot more part-time, freelance, retainer-based type experiences, and that's where we're at. So those kind of 2 things overall, plus those 6 things that I detailed, were telling me this is the time to do something like this.
Right. Love the analogy. Question is, will you sell to an island and stop at an island for 5-10 years, have an exit? Will you get attacked by pirates? Do you have the firepower to reply? Will you be taken down by rogue wave until then? I mean, or can the ship fly and then go to the sky and go to the moon? Uberization of B2B GTM, interesting. I'm seeing a lot of bots also in that ecosystem, GPT and AI. that's currently my focus. It's like, yeah, it's less on the human side of things, enhancing these humans. I straight up want to replace them. That is somewhat controversial. What do you see with AI and what you're building with tech, and how can these bot enhance or automate some of our processes and make us more efficient?
Well, businesses will become, more conversational, right? Because now you're going to be able to have a much more human-like conversation with these bots, either via through voice or text. And still, though, you need to create a people-first approach to that, right? Because you're going to need to have people train, audit, examine those bots, right? And make sure that those bots are representing the brand and people in the best possible way, right? So yes, I believe in that. I think that's a good thing. It's going to, decrease time to answer. It's probably going to decrease time to purchase for some companies. It's going to, it's going to do a lot of good things, right? It's going to decrease, of course, operating costs. It's going to be better for the business probably and better for the consumer if done right. The question then is like, well, where does the skill set shift happen, right? And what laws, because there's going to be laws and legislation eventually introduced, they're going to then affect AI. There is no doubt. And then what will that do, right? Like, for example, there's already rumors like, they're going to shut down any type of AI calling, right? Because it's going to be outlawed, banned. So that's
Yeah, I
going to
think
kill a
people
whole
are
tons
gonna
of companies,
stop calling one another straight up. That's my prediction with like good old phone numbers. But yeah, I fully agree with that. And yeah, like we all want to have our GPTs making calls. Not sure if you listened to the demo. Forgot what the app was called, but it was pretty goddamn awful. The Tesla guy demo.
Oh yeah.
That was so bad. Anyway, because I've owned various call centers over the years. I mean, GTM is so different. It's really company per company. So my AI approach would, somewhat break in the process. I do think that AI is able to reach that scale. But how do you go with personalization? Because you're building an agency, you're building a community, which is some other topics I want to take a couple of minutes to talk of. But how do you go with providing your consulting and your agency services at scale? Is that one of your goals, to SaaSify the whole thing, or do you want to keep on consulting and providing services?
We're not providing, like, we're definitely not an agency. I want to be very clear on this. We're a media and marketing firm. Agency is not the business model. We are going to introduce something in September that is going to be, I think, pretty innovative in terms of how we scale this business. So you'll have to wait to September to see that. But we specifically built the business with 3 different brands because long-term, that's what you need, I think. You need something that's going to help you create demand at the top of the funnel. That's TAC Creative. You're going to need something to help you capture demand in the middle of the funnel. That's Club PF. And you need a business that's going to serve your customers ultimately. And that's customer-led growth. And that's TAC GTM. So we have designed a business in a very disciplined and specific way based off of, again, this belief system and what we think is needed to create an enduring, durable company.
Right. Good answer. I am very bullish on that. Last question. I mean, this market is shifting, like when we talk about product market fit, the landscape is moving behind under our feet. We are changing as businesses. It becomes more and more about speed and quantity, to get the data of what works and what doesn't work in this market. I've also seen massive change in the sales world. Is no longer about selling to people, but inviting them to community like you're doing, partnering up and so forth. What trends are you seeing shape 2024, and how will you take advantage of these?
The trends just in like the macro, like the undeniable truth trends. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe go micro that time because you already gave a couple of macro ones.
So I mean, the micro ones, it's a tough one to answer because it's almost at the buyer level. Like what buyers, like what segment are you talking about, right? With those trends. I mean, and also then to some degree, it's you have to look at like the demographic ranges of people, because like baby boomers versus Gen X, Gen Z is very different when you think about those micro trends,
I guess Uberization sort of meant that at the buyer's level, they expect to have a very easy and smooth selling experience when they buy stuff, and that buying is not done the way it was before. Who screams the loudest? It's probably who fits my puzzle pieces. What puzzle piece fits my other puzzle piece?
I'll give you two things really quick, and I know we have to
Yeah.
wrap up. Like community-led growth. So is I think is something that every business needs to do more of, which is creating demand through partnering and starting conversations in places that either your brand or point of view story is being talked about, or you want it to be talked about in. So that's community-led growth. And then I think the other big bet that I'm going to make, and I saw this at Drift and HubSpot, is the transition of resource centers on websites. Resource centers, or the resource dropdown, is a terrible experience. It's a company first experience. I believe that member-led growth and membership experiences, that having an owned community as part of your brand, is going to be an explosion that happens over the next 3 years.
Love it. Mark, thank you so much. Where can people find out more about you?
TACK, TACK, GT